Good afternoon. I'm your host for this afternoon. I'm Shelby Marshall. I'm the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships at Vision Studios, and I'm here to welcome Qiyang Lin. Qiyang Lin is a master's student studying cognitive science and education at Teachers College, Columbia University. She works in the field of metacognition with Dr. Janet Metcalf at Columbia, and in the field of playfulness in adulthood with Dr. Leslie Frazier at Florida International University. Qiyang got her Bachelor of Science degree in psychology and her minor in business, with a minor in business at the University of California, San Diego with honors. She's a lifetime member of Psi-Chi International Honor Society and a board member of the International Student Psychology Association at Columbia. Qiyang has a great interest in combining multimedia and technology with learning and instructional design. After graduation, she wants to pursue a PhD studying multimedia learning and education. Her career plan is to continue research into the development of educational online technologies. By incorporating learning science with technology, she'd like to design and promote accessible multimedia learning tools to help people, especially from disadvantaged groups, to obtain expanded learning and educational opportunities, all of which is pretty darn wonderful. So I'm going to pass it over to Qiyang and welcome everybody to the session.
Thank you so much, Marshall, for the introduction. So right now I'm going to go ahead share my screen. Hi everyone, and thank you for being here and listening to my presentation today. So I'm the presenter, Qiyang Lin from Teachers College, Columbia University, and this research is collaborated with Dr. Leslie Frazier and also our team member from Florida International University. So in this 30-minute session, I will be focused on 3 questions. So what is playful learning and how it relates to explanatory styles and goal orientation, and why should we care? So humans, like many animals or species that are born to play, as children we are curious about almost everything, and then through play, such as manipulating objects, and developmental psychologists like Piaget and Vygotsky explain the role of play in a children's cognitive development, creativity, innovation, and also adaptive flexibility. And our play changes as we grow. In adolescence, we encourage playing with group and also individually to learn social skills and cognitive skills. And as an adult, we may feel that we have less time to play, but we still want to have fun or seek entertainment in our life. And the role of play in adulthood is just as important as other points in the lifespan. So what play and playfulness is worth to study, especially in adulthood? So many literature demonstrates the importance of play and playfulness in children's development, socialization, education, and therapeutic settings. But there were 2 possible reasons of why adulthood playfulness is paying less attention. So first, social manifestation of play and playfulness are less acceptable among adults. And also playfulness lacks appearance practical usefulness. So when you think about playful people, you may not associate them with a rational or have a pragmatic mind. And however, Dr. Lieberman suggests that playfulness in children as a personality traits can be carried into adulthood. And adults can also benefit from play because it increases happiness, motivation, and goal achievement. And also it associated with positive psychological functioning, coping strategy, and well-being. And it can also influence learning, problem solving, and academic performance. So what is playful learning? So before that, I would like to first talk about the definition of play and playfulness in this study. So the playfulness will be a trait and a personality, a personal quality that shape how we perceive our situations. And play will be an action, like the behavior outcomes, for example, such as like playing games and joking with others. Then the playful learning in this study, we introduce this concept as a cognitive process. That's a way of thinking or approaching a problem or task. For example, you like to play with idea or thoughts. You like to solve problem in a playful way. And in this study, we also examine how personality traits like optimism and pessimism that might impact playful learning and goal orientation. So Martin Stillman suggests that optimism and pessimism, they're personality traits that influence persons' interpretation and perception of situations. And in his book, Learned Optimism, that indicates the individual can have explanatory style. So explanatory style is the way to explain and interpret things that happening in their life. That can be either optimistic or pessimistic. So we believe that in this study, individuals optimistic or pessimistic explanatory style can influence behaviors and impact outcomes positively or negatively. So this is particularly important for intervention in education setting. So educators can have different active learning strategy for students and to facilitate their positive learning outcomes. And in current study, we adapt Sanders' goal orientation concept. So for this goal orientation concept includes two parts. The first part will be an agency. That means a thought of a person who perceives capacity to use one's referential thoughts and self-encouragement to follow the pathways. For example, you say to yourself, I can do this. And the pathway will be the second part, that we pursue our goals by generating usable routes. For example, I'm going to getting a flu shot so as to decrease the chance of getting a flu. So the ability to set up goals and find the most effective way to accomplish them is often considered as a measure of success and achievement. So some people might have difficulty in learning environments because of the past experience or their personality or their explanatory style. So those could make learning challenging for them. Therefore, it is important to find tools to make more effective. Playful learning approaches have the benefit of reducing stress associated with learning and capitalizing on people's natural tendency to find enjoyment in activity. So thus, we think the success in reaching goals or learning outcomes may depend on the interaction among personality and playful learning styles. So we look at how optimism and pessimism they interact with playful learning strategy as a way of predicting goal orientation in the form of agency and pathway. So we have two hypotheses here. So the first would like to know the direct relationship among these three constructs, and then second we test the mediation model that among those three constructs to see if there's a relationship of mediation. So in this study, if a goal orientation is more sensitive to collectively influence of optimism or pessimism, then it suggests that the optimism and pessimism influence goal orientations through the playful learning strategies. So we have total of 671 participants. Majority of them were recruited through Zone Assistant and also social media platform. And participants were need to complete a 1-hour survey, and that they need to enter their demographic characteristic, open-ended question, and also standard scales. So the materials include 3 parts in this current study. The playful learning was measured by the OLIW scale, where we extracting 7 items from the intellectual subscale, because this subscale particularly measures their playful learning approaches. And then the second scale was life orientation test that measured the optimism and pessimism. That's a 10-item scale. And the goal orientation, we examined this by using the adult hope scale. That was the 12 items standard scale. And next page, I would talk about the results session. So in this study, we first test the correlation among 3 constructs, and later multiple regression and analysis to test the mediating effects. So as you can see here in the correlational table, so all the variables are significant, and the playful learning as all positive associated with the optimism and also orientation, but not for the pessimism. And also people on the optimistic explanatory style, they were likely to be more playful and use the playful learning strategy, and also have a higher orientation. But the optimism are not like a negative associated with the pessimism. So this finding led the foundation to test the role of playful learning and supported the hypothesis 1 that all 3 constructs are related. And next, we're testing our second hypothesis. To test the mediating effect, we need to test both direct and indirect effect. The direct pathway includes the optimism to playful learning, to playful learning to the orientation, and also optimism to orientation. For this model, we only put the optimism and controlling for pessimism. So all the direct effects of this model are significant, and as well as the indirect effects. That indicates that we have a partial mediation. So it implies that there's not only a significant relationship between a mediator, access to playful learning, and the goal orientation, but also have some direct relationship between optimism and goal orientation. Then we did the same process for the pessimism and controlling for the optimism, and we also got the significant. Besides, it was slightly negative. Still, there was a partial mediating effect, so there is an indirect effects of playful learning above and beyond the direct effects of pessimism to orientation. And playful learning was a mediator in this model as well. So therefore, the explanatory style, whether it's the optimistic or pessimistic, were predictive of learning approaches and also predictive of goal orientation. And there were direct effects of both explanatory styles and playful learning or goal orientation. The results from mediation analysis support our second hypothesis. So in conclusion, the results of this study reveal a significant correlation among those 3 constructs which support our first hypothesis. Individuals who are optimistic are more likely to solve problems in a playful manner and have higher goal-directed thoughts and action than those who are pessimistic. And then our finding shows that the playful learning approach is an additive and coactive mediator that increase the benefits of optimistic explanatory style on goal orientation, and that playful learning can alleviate the disadvantage of a pessimistic explanatory style. And this finding were novel because first, it filled the gap of examining the role of playful learning in adults, and also its role in the learning process in terms of personality and goal orientation in literature. And second, and more importantly, we have shown that for people with positive explanatory styles, playful learning can enhance goal orientation and outcomes. So it is an important construct that could be used as a tool for learning. And here's our future direction and implication. So due to constraint of self-report survey, so there was not direct manipulation of the playful learning, but for the future study that we can implement some playful activities such as playing educational games to see how it affects their goal orientation or other variables. And the future study can go for a laboratory study or in a classroom. And second, the measurement of learning outcome can be changed. For example, we can include test score or GPA for the future study, and also scale for a goal orientation may be more towards the academic goals. And other variables can be included. For example, we can measure the motivation and others variables may associate with playfulness and learning, and also the academic goals. Implication. First, the current study could contribute to the field of learning science, game research, information learning, design, and also multimedia learning, because play and playfulness in those fields account a big role in learning and teaching. And this study emphasized the individual differences and value one's perspective on their goal orientation. So teacher would like to identify students' attitudes towards academic learning to promote their motivation and boost their goal-driving thoughts and action. And last but not least, educators can also create learning environments that help students feel optimistic about their own learning and academic goals by giving them reinforcement and cues that make them feel more comfortable and hopeful and to be more successful. Here's the reference here's part of the reference for this presentation. And thank you for your time and listening to my presentation today. And I would like to give a special thanks to our play team members from FIU and also Professor at Columbia University for sharing their brilliant thoughts and comments on this project. And I put my emails here, and you can feel free to send me an email if any comments or questions or feedbacks. And here's also a link to our team members' practice playfulness blog, and she will occasionally post some articles or our new research updates on this website. And thank you. Anyone have questions or comments?
Thank you so much. That was great. And while we're waiting for questions from participants, I was struck that when you were talking about the definition of playfulness, that you included playing with ideas or thoughts. That playfulness, being an attitude, is not just about literally physically playing. And I'm glad that you included that, because that's so important. People who play with words, who just play with one another. And yes, please, folks, post questions in the Q&A, and I will make sure that that Qiyang hears them.
Yeah.
One thing that I was wondering while we're waiting for other questions. I know that this is so far, this study was mainly correlative, not causal.
Yes.
But from what you've seen, or maybe from what you're planning, do you think that playful learning, that engaging in play, even if you're not particularly interested in it, if you're starting out more pessimistic than optimistic, if you engage in play, might it increase not only your enjoyment of playfulness and your appreciation of playful learning, but might it also actually increase optimism?
Yes. So that's our research team also believes that so this three construct would not be only one direction. So right now we only test the one direction. So for the optimism that influence the playfulness and then also the goal orientation. But we also believe that for the future study we may test when you kind of trying to engage in play, would that the direction change? So when the playful learning will be in the first place. And then it could be make you like optimistic and you're more willing to learn more things and also help you to achieve your goals.
That is great. I think we've known for some time that optimism it really influences your ability to reach goals and to learn. So it was very nice to know that can actually be influenced by engaging in playful learning in the first place.
Yes, and also from the Dr. Silliman's the concept, and he believes that our optimism or pessimism will be an explanatory style. So that's the way you perceive things that can be optimistic or pessimistic. So it can change. So if we, as an educator, we can kind of design games or other playful activities that can help them to feel optimistic. And then from our study, it shows there's a positive correlation. So it may potentially boost their motivation or boost their thoughts to reach their goals. So I may think that may be one of the possibilities.
That sounds great. Does anybody have any additional questions in the group?
I will quickly put my email address. So if anyone have questions or thoughts later on, you can feel free to shoot me email.
That would be great. This is an interesting study, and we really appreciate you sharing it with us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah.
So we have just a few minutes to fill, and one thing is I work with play, with playful learning quite a bit, and one thing. So it's interesting to talk with you about this. The one thing that I've seen, but I'm not sure that I know that much concretely about it, is something I think you were just alluding to, that if you engage in some kind of playful activity, even if it's not directly related to the learning that you're there to engage in, that it will increase your motivation and your ability to then engage in a learning activity that may or may not be what you were playing at. I'm not sure I'm saying that very clearly, but
I understand that. So you're saying that if you engage in a play, but not kind of directly associated with the learning material or the things you supposed to learn, but it increases your motivation to the future study. And we also call it as kind of you prepare for the future study, for the future learning.
Yeah.
So we also like to, for the future study, we also want to kind of examine if you engaging in a play activity and will have boost your motivation for your later learning materials.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and something that I think is just beginning to get appreciated more by researchers and the general public. creeping out to the general public, is that play is actually not wasting time. That play actually activates various parts of your brain and gets them to work together in ways that most other activities don't.
Mhm.
So it's really
Yes,
good for you. Right.
I understand, like, the public may be concerned that if you give your child or if you yourself like play a lot, then maybe kind of hinder your learning, or maybe hinder doing the right work. But actually, so if we can find that people to find like enjoyment and playful for certain activity, you may be interested in it, and then you have maybe you may be more motivated to continue this activity.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, when we were kids and taught, don't eat junk food before dinner because it ruins your appetite.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that people think of play the same way. If you play, it's just going to basically turn you off from serious learning.
Yes.
And it's quite the opposite.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.